Lesson 3, the Anunnaki. So do you remember previously how I mentioned that theory about how a lot of researchers and scientists believe that us modern day humans were created by the Anunnaki? Well, let's go further into that theory in this class. So first let's ask the question, who were the Anunnaki? The Anunnaki are a technologically advanced human-like extraterrestrial race. They are from Nibiru, sometimes referred to as Planet 9. They came to Earth possibly 500,000 years ago looking for minerals, specifically gold, because it has something to do with their livelihood, and many contribute this to their long lifespans. It is believed that they created humans originally as a slave race in order to mine gold, and that was abundant here on Earth. So, how did we first learn about the Anunnaki? We first learn about them through the first human records written by the Sumerians. The Sumerians were the first recorded civilization of mankind, and they developed on the Persian Gulf around 4000 BC. This is what the Greeks called the area Mesopotamia, meaning the land between two rivers. Which two rivers, you ask? Well, the Euphrates and the Tigris, of course. Does that sound familiar at all? Well, if you were raised in a religious household, then you know this is the same description as where the Garden of Eden is located, also known as the birth of our existence. The Sumerians are among the first to have sophisticated records, and in these records we learn about the Anunnaki. They recorded how they were ruled by kings, also known as gods that ruled the earth at that time. These kings reigned for like hundreds of thousands of years. For example, one king, Alalim, reigned for 64,800 years. So after a total of 8 kings and their reign, this totaled up to around 241,000 years. And then the Great Flood happened. Remember how I mentioned the Sumerians left sophisticated records? Well, they also left their Sumerian Bible, which goes into their creation. There are many similarities between the Sumerian Bible and the Christian and Catholic Bible. However, the Sumerian Bible touches on creation a bit more than the Bible does. They recorded that they were created by the Anunnaki as a slave species in order to mine gold from the earth. Humans were first created through genetic engineering by crossbreeding extraterrestrial genes with Homo erectus. At first, humans were unable to procreate until the god Enki and 2 other of the gods modified human genes. We not only could procreate, but we also possessed a divine spark, or a soul, and therefore we could be independent beings. This was done without the consent of one of the other gods called Enlil, and Enlil was specifically the ruler and the controller of the human civilization, and this created conflict among the gods. Enlil ruled over the humans, and he wanted to keep them a controllable slave race. Under Enlil's rule, it is said that humans were under great suffering. The liberation that Enki provided to the humans is reflected poorly in the Bible, described as even the garden with the serpent eating from the tree of knowledge. This led to a separation among the gods. Enki and the other gods who sided with him can also be referred to as those fallen angels. So Enki and the other gods who sided with him can also be referred to those fallen angels that procreated with the humans, which then created the Nephilim. This topic is so deep in and of itself, so I'm not going to go any further into the differences between our modern day Bible and the Sumerian Bible and that depiction of, in the Garden of Eden, but I have left some sources in the description of this class that you, of course, can click on and learn more about this yourself on your own time. So, is this all just a little too hard to believe? Yeah, I thought so myself too. At first. But then when I looked further into it, it's also very difficult to argue with because there's so much evidence actually backing this up. We have unearthed ancient mining operations in Africa that clearly were created with advanced technologies. In Africa, BBC scientists have discovered jawbones of the very first humans to exist here on Earth. Some date back to 400,000 years ago, whereas the oldest fossils found can date back to even 4 million years ago. One scientist stated, "This would suggest several different species of humans coexisting in Africa around 2 million years ago, with only one surviving and eventually evolving into our species, Homo sapiens." It's as if nature, or maybe the Annunaki, were experimenting with different versions of the same evolutionary configuration until one succeeded. Alongside this, Professor Stinger of the Natural History Museum stated that these studies challenge us to consider the very definition of what it is to be human. If you decided to take this class because you're questioning whether or not ETs even exist, then I want to leave you with this last side note before we continue on into the next lesson. Pope Francis made a public statement saying, "I would absolutely baptize any alien if one showed up and asked for it." Now, I'm not at all surprised that the Pope believes in aliens because there are many historical and secretive records that are actually being held below the Vatican. Lastly, I want to leave you with this little bit of information that I found when I was researching more into this theory that we were created by an alien species. And this lies within chromosome number 2. Scientists have discovered that this chromosome is a bit of a mystery because it is a result of an ancient fusion of pre-existing chromosomes from primates that were fused in a precise, complex way with alien genes. This bond is what sets us apart from all other life forms here on Earth. Scientists have also revealed that this fusion could not have happened over evolution and a long span of time of that evolution, but was in fact genetically engineered. So my friends, I know that this lesson was a bit hard on the palate to take, but I find it fascinating at the same time. So in our next lesson, we're going to be going into what starseeds are, so that in further lessons, when we go into starseed origins, we'll already know what starseeds are. So I look forward to seeing you in that next class.